So one of the things we want to talk about, we talk about this in our sales cycle, and I think it's actually a good idea to start the conversation here, and maybe not even get into a sales cycle depending on the answers to these 3 questions. People, time, and money. You heard our team say that.
Yes,
right?
yeah. They love to say, do you even have the people, time, and money to start a software implementation?
Exactly. And so we when do we ask that question in our
Day
sales
one,
process?
the second you call us, we don't ask, do you have the people, time, and money?
We ask,
we're more creative than that.
We guide you through the questions, right? Because no one really knows. So break it down. What do those mean?
Yeah, so I'll start with people. People, do you have the staff that is, 1, willing to make the change into a new software, 2, capable of using a more advanced software solution, and 3, if you don't have 1 and 2, are you gonna get those by the time we start the implementation? Yeah,
either by investing in current people that aren't quite there skills wise, or adding more resources in. Yeah,
so I think that's the people section. Are those things in line? And part of people is assessing yourself too. Are you willing to make this change? Are you willing to do the work that is required to have a successful implementation?
Yeah, for sure.
Time.
Time is huge.
Do you have the time to, on top of your day-to-day job, do a software implementation? And half of that responsibility falls on your partner, but half of it still falls on you as the leader of this software implementation process. So do you have that time carved out in your team's lives, in your life, to start the implementation, go through your data, make sure that it's cleaned up and ready for a new solution?
I think it's important to remember you can't manufacture time. You only get so much time in any given day, and you can't work every second of every day. And the answer isn't just work harder, right? You got to plan. So you got to figure out, are there things you can offload if you're the person running this? And if there's not, is there any way you could find some capacity somewhere in your organization to take off some of the things off your plate or your project team's plate? Because it's not something that is going to be, without its extra hours. So you got to find a way to create that I guess bandwidth for your team.
Some people hire a whole new person just to run the implementation. Some people take responsibilities of people and give it to other people so that their time is freed up. There's no one answer to the time problem. If there was, I think we would be billionaires.
We'd make a lot of money. If we made more hours. We wouldn't be selling software. We'd be selling that. So that's a good point. And the last one you said is money. So
can you afford it?
I mean, I think a lot of times people think about, I'm purchasing a software, and that's true, you are paying for the software, but you have to pay for it to get set up. Implementations are not cheap, and they're not free, so figuring out how you can do that on a budget and it makes sense for you and your business is important, because worst case scenario is you don't really plan through that and you don't think through the budget side of things. You get to the end of the decision, you get kind of an estimate of the services, and it's like, oh, we didn't think about that.
And it's not just the external services and software costs, it's also the amount that you're paying your employees. So that time that they had to spend on something else is now being spent on the software implementation. So that's kind of a hidden cost of a software implementation.
It's not free when you use overhead. It just isn't. So figuring that out is important.
So you need to think about those 3 things before you even look at a software solution, before you're even thinking about, oh, this looks like a good option, that looks like a good option. You need to really take a look in the mirror.
Figure out if it's something that's in the cards for you right now. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes you need to fix a few of those problems. Maybe it's getting more bandwidth on your team, and you've got to solve that problem before you take on an implementation. Maybe it's working it out into the budget because you didn't budget for it this year, and you need to push it to next year. That decision process. It's important to consider those, because that's what we try to kind of suss out when we're talking to them, right? do you have the people to make this transition? Do you have the time to make this transition? Do you have the money in the budget to make said transition? Because it's a waste of everyone's time if you start without those things.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I think it's important.
Some food for thought.
Yeah.